so much for joining us for Kite Academy. Our next module, competitive positioning. We have today with us Cam Davies again. Thank you so much for joining us. Cam, let's jump right into subject matter. Product marketing. You're an experienced product marketer. You've been doing it for 10 plus years. And I know from personal experience that product marketing teams are responsible for doing so much for the sales teams that you enable. And so my question for you is, it's a very broad one, what goes into the positioning of a product?
Oh, that's a big question. So, positioning really is almost a strategy statement of saying, this is where we are going to be in the market, this is who we're going to serve, and this is how we're going to be a little bit different than the next competitor. We're probably familiar in some way with kind of the academic positioning statement that says for whom we are X category that serves a benefit unlike something else, which I think is a good start. It kind of orients you into thinking more specifically about who you're serving and who your target market might be. But at the end of the day, it doesn't really bring it alive. And I think we need to start thinking about our buyers as people that are going to research things and already have certain biases in their head. There's been research, and the number keeps going up, but greater than 70% of the buying decision is already made up by the time they come and they're talking to you. I think that's a little bit of an overstatement. I actually think they have about 70% of their bias already made up. So a good opening into the sales process is going to understand what those biases are. And when we think about positioning, we have to think about the competitive alternatives. And oftentimes it's not another piece of software. It's not your competitor who you hate and you just want to squash. It's the Excel spreadsheet. It's the intern. It's the way that they're doing it now. That's status quo is usually your greatest competition. So when we think about positioning, we have to think about it from that perspective as well. Unlike using an Excel spreadsheet, this is how we might be different. Is so critical in positioning. Yeah,
it sounds like status quo is one of those big blockers or something that we need to be able to position ourselves, our products against.
Mm-hmm. I think when we also consider positioning, we have to think about what's unique about us. So usually the unlike statement has to come into it, and I think that's where anchoring and positioning also plays a really big role. Another really powerful concept in positioning is really anchoring on something familiar. So we've heard a lot of tech companies say that they're the Uber of something or the Airbnb of something. And what they're doing there is really powerful, because instead of asking you to put the mental energy into just understanding what I'm trying to describe to you, I already have a level of understanding that we can both agree on, and then I can put my mental energy into understanding how you're different. So I'll give you real examples. For Bonfire, we are e-sourcing software, so my market has an understanding of what that might be, but specifically for the needs of government. So immediately as a government employee, I'm thinking, okay, like they have something for me and it's interesting. At ClearPath, we sell self-driving vehicles for industrial automation, but instead of being a dumb line-driven robot, we can make decisions in real time and get to your end destination. So again, self-driving vehicles, a little bit more out there, but people kind of understand that concept, and you're able to root yourself differently than you would if I said we're just another robot for industrial automation. At Myovision, the whole premise was we're smart city technology or smart city traffic technology, but built on open innovation so that you don't end up like you are today with 40 or 50-year-old traffic technology that handcuffs you from making improvements to your citizen driving experience. So the power of anchoring and positioning is just so critical, and it really helps to fast forward the understanding of what you can offer to the market.
Yeah, it sounds like there's a lot of thought process and development that goes into figuring out what that hook is or how to position it. And so I'd love to hear your perspective in terms of how we manage to do all of that, but in this perpetually changing environment. Because as we both know, in software companies in today's market, things are changing all the time. So how do you achieve that level of understanding, but on a regular basis when everything is changing?
Sure. I mean, in that case, I think it truly comes back to understanding your buyer persona. I mean, people are still buying stuff. There's a reason that I'm gonna take another phone call with you or I'm not. Usually people get struck first with the emotion of buying something. So how's it going to make me feel? Is it going to make me feel, like a hero in my organization? Can I instantly feel that, my boss is going to like this and I'm going to be able to, elevate myself? Or am I going to be able to remove some kind of risk in my organization? So far more than feature check marks or exactly how we're going to solve it versus competitor A and competitor B, it's about how we're adjusting the needs of that buyer persona. If you can hit them with a bit of an emotional hook and be able to make them feel like you can solve a pain or help them reach some emotional, level that they'll gain internally, then you hit them with the logical reasons. So, going a few years back, everyone has a certain emotion tied to Tesla. Recently maybe it has changed.
Yeah, fluctuating stock prices.
Yeah.
I don't know how I feel about that.
But back when they were launched, no one can deny, it was super cool. It was a technology that's been around for a long time, but they made it cool and very desirable. So instantly your emotion is hooked. And then they gave you these calculators to say how it was, far more cost effective than gas, and you can pay the premium that you would need to pay for something like a Tesla, but then pay it back over a number of years. That's not why anyone's buying a Tesla. They're buying it for the emotional reason, and then they can go and they can talk to their partner about, listen, we're gonna go buy a $90,000 car, but here's the economics behind it and why it makes sense for us.
Yeah.
When you hit it in that order, you have a much better likelihood of having that next meeting or being able to be invited into the sales process a little bit further. No one ever buys something because of, the economic reason right off the bat. There's got to be some kind of emotion tied to it.
Yeah. So it sounds like really tapping into that why somebody might want to use a thing, and to your point, the emotional aspect. And so, what are some techniques as a product marketer, if you can think of any to share, that would let you get access to that emotion? Like, how do you think about creating language that connects emotionally? How do you do that?
I mean, a lot of it comes from joining sales calls, from talking directly to prospects, and to putting your product hat on, because unlike a salesperson, I can kind of step out of that role and say, listen, I'm not going to try to sell you something. It sounds like you've already got your mind made up, or you're a couple of years away from doing something like this. So let me ask you, what are all the reasons that you wouldn't do something like this? What are all the objections that you would have as we would go through the sales process? And just understanding almost that anti-checklist, I think, is so incredibly powerful, because instead of letting the prospect come up with those reasons themselves, you're almost heading them off, and then you're making them feel comfortable. You're making them feel confident that you understand me and that you've got my best interest at heart.
Yeah. I love that so much of what you're communicating is this idea, again, of anticipation. The more you know, the more you can anticipate, the more you can proactively address to let the conversation move smoothly. I think that comes across really, really well.
Yeah, I think marketing teams that aren't closely connected to the customer, or maybe there's a little bit of a divide between actually knowing what prospects are saying and then the marketing team maybe having a philosophical idea or an academic idea of okay, we're going to say it's efficiency, and we're going to say it's savings,
right,
and we're going to say, whatever other third value it might be. If we can do a better job understanding the emotional state, what motivates someone, what is going to cause someone pause, I think we can create much better marketing materials, which then translate into, a warmer lead. And then when it comes to product marketers, creating tools that help to feed the prospect their own feeling of importance and understanding that we get them as a selling organization, so that when we're having those conversations, we sound credible.
Yeah, I love that idea. The better you are at that, the warmer the lead is. It really does kind of evoke that idea of an emotion, because you are actually warming leads up to you through this practice. So I think that's great. Thank you for sharing that with us, and thank you everybody who watched. I hope that you enjoyed that again as much as I did. We'll see you when you tune into the next module.